In the fall, as soon as temperatures start to drop below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, make sure to dig up the bulbs of your gladiolus. It is important for a gladiolus bulb to produce a second time the following year or in subsequent years, especially at the time of harvesting, to never cut the leaves down to the bulb. We keep about 8 to 12 inches of leaves. That's the first important thing. Another rule is to wait for the leaves to turn yellow before harvesting. To harvest them, use a garden fork or simply a hand cultivator. The main thing is not to damage the bulbs. So we will extract them. Once we have our bulbs, we shake off the soil. When digging them up, we start removing all the small bulbs around the main bulb, as they are there at the expense of the main bulb, and we set them aside since we can cultivate them, but we won't get flowers for 2, 3, or even 4 years. Here there are 2, so we will set them aside. There are always small bulbs. Along the main bulb, we remove them, and there's always a little bit of soil, so we shake it off and clean it. We currently cut the leaves now, so right above the bulb. And these same bulbs, we are going to dry them. For that, we will put them in a crate and place them in a well-ventilated room. And once the soil is completely dry, we can shake them off. So let's continue. Here, we have a gladiolus bulb with a multitude of small bulbils. So we are going to extract them. However, be aware that it takes many years to get flowers. In fact, this is the natural way gladiolus bulbs multiply. Also, be aware that when you plant a gladiolus bulb and later harvest it, it is not the same bulb you planted. In fact, it has formed above the old bulb, and that is why you should never cut the leaves all the way down, otherwise the bulb remains small and you won't get any flowers. So don't hesitate to take a little time to dig up all those gladiolus bulbs, especially if you live in a cold region, as the bulbs might freeze. In more temperate regions, you can leave the gladiolus bulbs in the ground and they will bloom naturally the following year. Here you can see the old bulb and the new bulb on top of it, which is much larger. This is why it's important to keep them from one year to the next, as next year's gladiolus flowers will be much bigger. We are now done with digging up the bulbs, but there's still this soil. That's too wet for drying, so we'll put them in a well-ventilated room. We could leave them outside as long as it doesn't rain, but it's not a big deal, especially as long as it doesn't freeze. That's the most important thing. And then once they are well dried, you can put them in a shoebox, for example. Some people also put them in nets and hang them up to prevent rodents from devouring the bulbs. And next spring, you can replant them. Simply ensure that the storage of gladiolus bulbs is always done in a room where it does not freeze.